Today we're going to talk about anti-core training. If you're looking for ways to incorporate some core training into your program, that's going to help give you better control and strength and show you the different ways that your core can actually move, this is the video you want. What is anti-core training? To answer that question, you first have to know what the different movements of your core are going to be. So you have flexion and extension, so think like a sit-up or a hyperextension. So if I'm doing a sit-up or a crunch, this is flexion, my abs are shortening, I'm going into flexion. Back extension, I am going into flexion, I'm going to extension here, because my abs are lengthening. Lateral flexion and extension, so if I bend to the side, this is going to be lateral flexion in my obliques here, and then I have lateral extension coming up on my opposite side obliques. And then you have rotation, which is just your rotational work. The antis of that would be anti-flexion and extension. You have anti-lateral flexion and anti-lateral extension, and anti-rotation, which are really just fancy words for how well you can resist those movements, whether that is internally or body weight or something that you're doing yourself to where you have to fight those movements, or externally. So body weight, if it's just myself, a side plank, we'll use that as a real simple example. This is, say, a side plank. If I'm here in a side plank, I'm having to isometrically contract and engage my obliques, my abs, to keep my body in this position and keep my hips from dropping, so I'm building that isometric core strength and control in this static position here. Externally, so that would be in external force, whether that's weights or in something more dynamic, say a sport, use mixed martial arts or Muay Thai as an example. So let's say, you're clinched up. If you're clinched up and you guys are fighting for position, somebody yanking you like that, trying to throw you down, sweep you, or get the upper hand, how well you can resist that person trying to take control in that situation. So that's where having, one, strong legs are going to come into play, but two, a strong core to be able to resist your body from getting folded in that situation. So that is one side of core training, which is very important. And then obviously the exercises where there's those movements, flexion and extension, lateral flexion, lateral extension, and rotation. All very, very important, but they all serve very different purposes. You have the antis and the non-antis. It's important to train all of them. So today we're going to go over 3 different exercises, one being an anti-flexion and extension exercise, one being an anti-lateral flexion and lateral extension exercise, and then an anti-rotation exercise. These are going to help you hit all 3 of those different movements and help you build that isometric strength and control to be able to resist those forces coming at you. All right, so let's get into it. First exercise we have is going to be a barbell rollout. This is going to be an anti-flexion and extension exercise. To set up, you're going to need a barbell with some weights on it. You're going to get into a tall kneeling position, so knees down, toes in the ground. You want to start with the barbell close to your body like this. One thing that I like to do with this exercise is rotating my elbows so that I can lock in my lats. So when I'm grabbing the barbell like this, I want to rotate my elbow around towards my body like that. This is going to help engage my lats, which is going to give me a more stable and solid structure when I'm holding this isometric position. So that way I can have a nice strong structure going from my arms to my lats and then down into my abs. So grab your barbell, it's tight, about a shoulder width grip, maybe a little wider if you want. Rotate those elbows so you lock in your lats here. Keep this position, keep your abs engaged, and you're just going to roll out as far as you are comfortable with, keeping your abs engaged and your glutes engaged. From here, you're just going to hold this position for 30 seconds or however long you can. But aim for 30 seconds. If you can't go as far down, you can always go a little less range of motion. The goal, keeping those elbows locked in, so that way your lats are engaged, your abs, glutes. The goal is holding that isometric position, so that way you can build strength through these different positions. Building that strength in these different positions is going to give you better overall control of your core. So here you can even start higher up, lower down, and then work your way in. One thing that I like to do is I'll go maybe 10 seconds here, pull in using your abs, and then a 10-second hold here, and then back in, 10-second hold. The goal being to keep all of your muscles engaged, from your lats to your abs to your glutes. So that's going to be an anti-flexion and extension exercise. Next up, we're going to get into an anti-lateral flexion, anti-lateral extension exercise. The next exercise is going to be an anti-lateral flexion exercise, so resisting forces pulling you from side to side, so having to use your obliques, control everything so that way you don't get bent to the side. You want to start, you're going to grab a heavy weight, either dumbbell, kettlebell, whatever you have available. Make sure that it's pretty heavy, like as heavy as you can hold. You should have the weight set to your side. Push down, you're grabbing, pushing your legs into the ground. And when you're doing this, your opposite side obliques are going to be the ones engaged mostly. So the weight's going to want to pull me to the side here. I have to use these obliques to hold this weight up like this. This is going to help stabilize your hips, stabilize your shoulder, build a lot of strength isometrically here in your obliques. Hold this for 30 seconds. Again, just like the rollout, you want to have your glutes engaged, your abs holding the weight up nice and tall, and hold for time. That's going to be your anti-lateral flexion exercise. Now onto anti-rotation. Final exercise is going to be a Pallof press, which you need a cable machine for it. You want to set the pulley up to about level with your elbow. You're going to stand with your side towards the cable machine. You want to grab the pulley. Feet are going to be about shoulder width apart. Nice little athletic stance, so slight bend in the knees, hips back a little bit. You want to keep your abs engaged, your glutes, your obliques. Here, you're going to keep this handle directly in front of your sternum, pushing straight out, and you're going to hold here. So the weight is wanting to pull me this way, which would cause rotation. So I have to use my obliques and everything engaged to keep this pulley handle directly in front of me. Hold this for time. That is going to be anti-rotation training. So that concludes the anti-core training, which it's very important to incorporate not just the antis, but every way that your core can move. If you think about it like a crawl, walk, run type situation, you can't sprint before you know how to crawl. You can't walk before you know how to sprint, or you can't sprint before you know how to walk. Core is the same way. If you're learning how to control and use your core, it's helpful to start with the crawl and walk phase. Build that strength and control of how this moves, and then progress to the run stuff. The antis would be like your crawl, walk, because you're building just the control in your core and how it moves from these more static positions while being able to put load under them. Because the better I can control my core from the start position, the better I can control it through its full range of motion, because I've got the control to keep my muscles engaged from the start, which is going to help with the overall carry through for things like your rotation, because you're going to be set here and you can quickly throw and know how to rotate or move from the hip. Same thing for the lateral flexion and extensions, or just flexion and extension in general. So that is it. Those aren't the only exercises that you can do. There's tons of other ones that you can do, but the principles of training them are going to be similar and the same. That's what you want to do if you want to start building some really good strength and core control in your body. All right, that's it for today. I will see you on the next one. Drop a comment down below if you have any questions, and I will catch y'all later.